Shabbat Shalom, Yasharallah. Welcome to Gospel Portions covering Matthew 23 and 24. Let's get started with the prayer. Heavenly Abba, high in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Hallowed be thy day. May we remember his Shabbat to keep it Kodesh. Thank you for this Shalom full Shabbat, Heavenly Father, that we may rest in you, worship you in spirit and in truth. Protect this line of fellowship. Have your Ruach Kodesh rain your Ruach upon us, Heavenly Father, that we may be wise in our understanding of Scripture and we may use it to empower us in this life. Shabbat Shalom. Bahashem, in the name of Yeshaya, Amen. And Amen. All right, let's share screen and get this reading on. Once again, Matthew 23 and 24. Ironically enough, if you are following with the Torah portions, I just got done saying we have 2 weeks left of the Torah portions in the book of Numbers. Well, we have 2 weeks left in the gospel portions after this week as well. That's it. That's crazy, right? We're almost completely done with the book of Matthew and the gospel portions in their entirety for the time being. I will not be doing any other book because, like I said, we've been kind of reading the books, other books along with this one. And a lot of the other books obviously are second, third witnesses on testimonies that we find in the book of Matthew. And then other things that's not in the book of Matthew, such as in the book of John or in other gospels, we've been reading them with our reading here. So 2 more weeks of the gospel portion. And let's continue the fun. Starting off in Matthew 23. Let's begin.
Matthew 23. Then spake Jesus to the multitude and to his disciples, saying, The scribes and the Pharisees sit in Moses' seat. All therefore whatsoever they bid you observe, that observe and do. But do not ye after their works, for they say, and do not. For they bind heavy burdens, and grievous to be borne, and lay them on men's shoulders. But they themselves will not move them with one of their fingers. For all their works they do for to be seen of men. They make broad their phylacteries, and enlarge the borders of their garments, and love the uppermost rooms at feasts, and the chief seats in the synagogues, and greetings in the markets, and to be called of men, Rabbi, Rabbi. But be not ye called Rabbi, for one is your master, even Christ, and all ye are brethren. And call no man your father upon the earth, for one is your Father which is in heaven. Neither be ye called masters, for one is your master, even Christ. But he that is greatest among you shall be your servant. And whosoever shall exalt himself shall be abased, and he that shall humble himself shall be exalted.
All right, we're going to have our first pause here. We have verses I'm focusing on is 8 through 10. But be not ye called rabbi, which is this sort of the same as master, which is repeated, and over here called masters, for one is your master. So we're saying right here, he's saying don't be called rabbi, don't be called father, and don't be called master. But let's put it in context here. He is speaking of the kingdom. He is speaking spiritually. In a spiritual position, no one shall be called rabbi, master, or father. Because we all know, especially father, we all know that we can call someone father. The Bible even calls people father over and over again. So put it in context that this is not talking in a general perspective. This is talking in a spiritual perspective. So spiritually, in the house of the Most High, church, temples, synagogues, which should you call someone father? No, which we know that is in religion, right? Catholicism calls people father in a spiritual standard. The same thing for another religion, Judaism. Does Judaism call someone master or rabbi in a spiritual position? Yes. Yes, Christianity too, but Catholicism and Christianity is one of the same, regardless of what people want to believe or not. But you have, so there's religions that do exactly what the Bible tells you not to do, which is kind of the entire idea of why you got to study to show thyself approved. If you're not questioning in a spiritual position, you calling someone rabbi, then you are not studying at least Matthew 23 in the New Testament. And then if you're calling someone father as a leader in the house of the Most High, that is not what he told us to do. And we also, I just got done doing an Enoch study on the history of mankind, the animal apocalypse study, and it puts everything in perspective, and it gave me an overview myself when I did it on the history. And let me say something for perspective of the time frame with these titles. You won't find in the Old Testament anyone being called rabbi. You won't even find anyone in the Old Testament with anyone being called Pharisee or Sadducee. You won't also find anyone in the Old Testament in a spiritual position being called father. My point I'm making is that's not there because these titles in these new positions wasn't yet created until the writings of the New Testament. Because this is a whole nother time frame with I'm not trying to get into a whole nother study, but we're in a different time frame where religion and man's traditions are starting to intermingle with what the Israelites covenant has been given to them, more so than in times past. In times past, it was more about, hey, watch out for the other gods and the idolatry of these other gods. Nowadays, they're starting to say, we're still doing the Most High's work, but we're adding in tradition, which is the battle of Messiah throughout the entire Gospels, is that, hey, you see these Pharisees, you see these teachers, they're pretending to do the Most High's work, but they're not. And you have to pay attention to the details, such as man's traditions and the titles given are not of the kingdom. And so when Messiah is speaking of it right here, the reason why there's no precepts in the old is because this is something that's becoming new during this time frame, which is what we also see in our time. So spiritually, do not call someone father, Lord, master, rabbi in a spiritual position. And just to wrap it up, I just wanted to give some points that this is talking spiritually, because the Bible itself would tell us, like in, oops, I did this out of order. Here we go. James 1 tells us, brethren, be not many masters. And this word right here can also be translated as teachers, knowing that he shall receive the greater condemnation. So James is saying that there are many masters, teachers, lords. I mean, be not many, but he's saying that there's going to be some, but you're not condemned for being a leader, a master, a teacher, but don't stand in the Most High's position and act like you're him. And then I just honestly chose a random verse, but we'll see this in the gospel. We see this everywhere where in positions of authority, people are called Lord or Master. And the woman said, this is actually what talking to King Solomon. My Lord, I and this woman dwell in one house, and I was delivered, etc., etc. Into the story. This is a pretty cool story with King Solomon, but that's beside the point. It's the point that Solomon was in a position of authority, and he was called Lord or Master. And then the same thing James mentions about people being called masters and teachers. And I'm just showing that these two positions that are being called a master, Lord, teacher, are not in a spiritual, like you're sitting in the Most High's chair. It is just in general. All right. Moving on. Verse 13.
But woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for ye shut up the kingdom of heaven against men. For ye neither go in yourselves, neither suffer ye them that are entering to go in. Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for ye devour widows' houses, and for a pretense make long prayer. Therefore ye shall receive the greater damnation. Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for ye compass sea and land to make one proselyte, and when he is made, ye make him twofold more the child of hell than yourselves. Woe unto you, ye blind guides, which say, Whosoever shall swear by the temple, it is nothing, but whosoever shall swear by the gold of the temple, he is a debtor. Ye fools and blind, for whether is greater, the gold, or the temple that sanctifieth the gold? And whosoever shall swear by the altar, it is nothing. But whosoever sweareth by the gift that is upon it, he is guilty. Ye fools and blind, for whether is greater, the gift, or the altar that sanctifieth the gift? Whoso therefore shall swear by the altar sweareth by it, and by all things thereon. And whoso shall swear by the temple sweareth by it, and by him that dwelleth therein. And he that shall swear by heaven sweareth by the throne of God, and by him that sitteth thereon. Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for ye pay tithe of mint and anise and cumin, and have omitted the weightier matters of the law, judgment, mercy, and faith. These ought ye to have done, and not to leave the other undone. Ye blind guides, which strain at a gnat, and swallow a camel.
All right, we're going to pause there. Let's talk a little bit about a couple of verses. I want to first go up to verse 33. And we're actually going to go to I'm going to read it. I want to read it in the Hebrew translation here. Let's go to the Hebrew of verse. Oops, not 33. It's 23. There's another one. 15. Yes. Woe unto you, scribes, Pharisee, deceivers, who go around the land and sea to give insight to some men. And then over here, what verse was that? 15. Over here, proselyte, which is like you convert someone to what you believe. Said a land to make one a proselyte, and when he is made, ye make him twofold more the child of hell than yourself. And I y'all know I'm not shy about talking against religion in the church, but this is what's going on. What people got to realize when they're like, oh, the church do a lot of good stuff. No, they don't, guys. No, they don't. If the church is using feeding the poor to get them to do their religion and to believe what they believe, like it literally says that when you convert them, and this is talking about the Pharisees, we know the Pharisees is a part of the Jews' religion based off of Galatians chapter 1 that Paul openly denounced against the Jews' religion. And people, this is what he's speaking of. What are the Pharisees in? Judaism. So when they convert someone to Judaism, ye make him twofold more the child of hell than yourselves. You can't look at fundraisers and donations and things that they do for the less fortunate. Freemasonry do this stuff and say they do a lot of good stuff. What do we measure? What is our measuring stick on what is good now? Right here is speaking of religion. This entire chapter, have we not just went over the titles that religion hold dear to? Father, rabbi. He's speaking on the religion that is the apostate generation that is starting to come into fruition from prophecy. So many people want to be like, oh, they do so good. They do so many good things. Da 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 da. The works that they're doing is leading people to an eternity of damnation. Just you have to leave that mindset of these little things that they do, because like I said, if you take that standard and put it next to a Masonic temple sound very good too then. They do fundraisers, they do charities, they do donations. But they're leading people to hell. We can't look at the church and say, oh, well, but, and let's remember, the majority of the time, the money that they get for these fundraisers is based off of lies of tithing, guilt tripping people to give money when that's not even in the scripture. So they're breaking the commandments by getting money to give back and to make people convert to their religion based on how nice they are. But the kingdom of heaven ain't based off of niceness. Nice people don't go to heaven. Righteous people go to heaven. Understand that. Too many people get on, oh, but they're so nice. That's not a real measuring tool. We can't be out of religion and still give wiggle room for their practices. Their practices is of Hasatan. You can't be one or the. You can't be in the middle. You're one or the other. All right, and that's why. And this was including myself when I was in churchianity. I couldn't tell you if I was really going to be going to heaven or not. Was my soul saved? Because I didn't practice anything that was lined up with the Bible, and if I'm not reading the Bible and finding out what the Bible tells me, then I'm not saved. All that other stuff is hoopla. It's just bread for the masses. All right, now we're going to go into the Hebrew translation I want to look into in verse 23 and 24. And over here it says, in the KJV, it says, for ye pay tithe of mint. And then it goes on to say that, but you have omitted the weightier matters of the law. That's not the way the Hebrew translation reads. It says, woe to you scribes and Pharisee deceivers who receive the top of the mint. They're not saying they give these top tithing. They're saying that they are the receiving end of the tithe, who receive the top, or we see here D, or best of the mint and the cumin, and transgress the great commandments of the law and forsake the uprightness and grace and faith. And these are the commandments which are indebted and due, and it is not fitting to forget them. Blind leaders who chew the flea but swallow the camel. That's another point I want to get. How many times we read things but we don't understand? But y'all know this is what the point of these gospel portions are, to try to get as much understanding on every single line as we can. And right here, verse 24, ye blind guys who strain at the gnats and swallow a camel. These parables, I love them. This is him talking about what he just said. Omitted the weightier matters. You're worried about straining a gnat or chewing a gnat, which is hard to do because we all know a flea or a gnat is tiny. It's pretty much non-existent if you happen to eat it. You wouldn't even know you did if you didn't know. But you're trying to swallow a camel, which is impossible. The point is, stop following blind leaders or being a blind leader, worried about things that don't matter, and the things that do matter, you are not paying no attention to. That's a little mini parable in the middle of Matthew 23 there. All right, let's continue.
To you scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for ye make clean the outside of the cup and of the platter, but within they are full of extortion and excess. Thou blind Pharisee, cleanse first that which is within the cup and platter, that the outside of them may be clean also. Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for ye are like unto whited sepulchres, which indeed appear beautiful outward, but are within full of dead men's bones, and of all uncleanness. Even so, ye also outwardly appear righteous unto men, but within ye are full of hypocrisy and iniquity. Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, because ye build the tombs of the prophets, and garnish the sepulchres of the righteous, and say, if we had been in the days of our fathers, we would not have been partakers with them in the blood of the prophets. Wherefore ye be witnesses unto yourselves, that ye are the children of them which killed the prophets. Fill ye up then the measure of your fathers. Ye serpents, ye generation of vipers, how can ye escape the damnation of hell? Wherefore, behold, I send unto you prophets and wise men and scribes, and some of them ye shall kill and crucify, and some of them shall ye scourge in your synagogues, and persecute them from city to city, that upon you may come all the righteous blood shed upon the earth, from the blood of righteous Abel unto the blood of Zacharias, son of Barachias, whom ye slew between the temple and the altar. Verily I say unto you, all these things shall come upon this generation. O Jerusalem, Jerusalem, thou that killest the prophets, and stonest them which are sent unto thee, how often would I have gathered thy children together, even as a hen gathereth her chickens under her wings, and ye would not. Behold, your house is left unto you desolate. For I say unto you, ye shall not see me henceforth, till ye shall say, blessed is he that cometh in the name of the Lord.
Woo, man, Messiah. He went in on them this chapter. You can tell his time is coming to a close because he's just letting them know. He's like, y'all gonna want to murder me after this. For real. They were mad. Man, all right. Verse 35. It says that you may come all the righteous blood shed upon the earth, from the blood of righteous Abel unto the blood of Zacharias, son of Barachias. Let's talk about this. Who this is. The first thing that will come to mind, and I also wanted to mention that the camel was unclean as well. Very, very nice perspective that they were trying to swallow a camel. Why would they try to eat a camel? Exactly. He's calling them unclean. All right. So let's go to Zechariah. And this would take us to this Zechariah, which is the Zechariah of the book of Zechariah. And we see right here that this is what has been mentioned. The blood of this Zechariah, and he was slew between the temple and the altar. But this is the thing about it, though. This Zechariah it was not slayed between the temple and the altar. I'm going to pretty much lead you to the point that I don't think that this was translated properly. This part is the main problem, because Zechariah is the name of the priest that was slain upon the altar, but it wasn't the son of Berechiah. So let's go to 2nd Chronicles 24, 20 through 22. And the Ruach of Elohim came upon Zechariah, the son of Jehoiada, the priest. So this is, I believe, the correct Zechariah, because you're going to see, which stood above the people and said unto them, Thus says Elohim, why transgress ye the commandments of Haya, that ye cannot prosper, because ye have forsaken Haya, he has also forsaken you. And they conspired against him and stoned him with stones at the commandment of the king in the court of the house of the Most High. Thus Joash the king remembered not the kindness. Do I need this part? No, I did not need verse 22. So, who was slayed at the altar at the court of the house? It wasn't this Zechariah. It was this Zechariah, as we read here, who was slain between the temple and the altar. That is the court. And let's go to the Hebrew translation to put everything in more so perspective when we look into the Hebrew translation. We see here in the Hebrew in verse 35, what we just read, from the blood of Abel unto the blood of Zechariah. Then there's a little note here. Let's go to this note, D. And Shem Tov, that's Tov is good name. So at least one good name in MS is manuscript. So I don't know why it has good there, but at least one of the manuscripts names does not include the son of Ber, whatever how you want to pronounce it. So right here it shows us that not all of the old manuscripts actually have the son of Baraka, whatever how to pronounce it was. And so I honestly feel like it was a bad manuscript, a mistranslation of a manuscript. Someone inserted who they thought was the Zechariah for whatever reason, and that just wasn't so. As we see, not all of the manuscripts has that key point which changes who the individual or which Zechariah it was. All right, just a note there. Notes. And then last point of Matthew 23, verse 37, when it says, O Jerusalem, thou that killeth the prophets, stoneth them which are sent unto me, how often would I have gathered thy children together, even as a hen gathers her chickens under her wings. Messiah's quoting from scripture right here. 2nd Esdras, chapter 1, verse 30. I gathered you as a hen gathers her brood under her wings. But now, what shall I do to you? I will cast you out of my presence. But this is 2nd Esdras, Old Testament Apocrypha that Messiah's actually quoting from, with the chickens underneath, the chickens gathered underneath the hen. All right. You know, I love just showing all the precepts and quotes from the New Testament to connect the Old. All right. And that is all I have for chapter 23. Whoo, look at all that red. Messiah was preaching the entire chapter against religion and those blind leaders. And oh my goodness, we could relate to this entire chapter. of what's going on in modern day time. Really can. Unbelievable how much it does relate. All right, the infamous Matthew 24, the chapter that Messiah speaks on the coming days of tribulation, end times prophecy. Can't wait. Let's get it going. We're going to start off reading verses 1 through 14.
Matthew 24. And Jesus went out and departed from the temple, and his disciples came to him for to show him the buildings of the temple. And Jesus said unto them, See ye not all these things? Verily I say unto you, there shall not be left here one stone upon another that shall not be thrown down. And as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto him privately, saying, Tell us, when shall these things be? And what shall be the sign of thy coming, and of the end of the world? And Jesus answered and said unto them, Take heed that no man deceive you. For many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many. And ye shall hear of wars, and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines, and pestilences, and earthquakes in divers places. All these are the beginning of sorrows. Then shall they deliver you up to be afflicted, and shall kill you, and ye shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake. And then shall many be offended, and shall betray one another, and shall hate one another. And many false prophets shall rise, and shall deceive many. And because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. But he that shall endure unto the end, the same shall be saved. And this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations, and then shall the end come.
Woo! Y'all feel it, Yasharala? We in this thing. All right. Verse 1. Yahshua went out and departed from the temple, and his disciples came to him to show him the buildings of the temple. So it's like, what's going on here? They came to show him the buildings of the temple. Okay. Let's go to the Hebrew. Is it the Hebrew? Oh, no. My bad. It's Luke. Luke 21. Gives us a little bit, just giving us understanding of what they were doing, showing them the temple. It tells us why. And as some spoke of the temple, how it was adorned with goodly stones and gifts. And then Messiah said, so that's what they were doing in verse 1. And why were they looking at the temple? It's because they were like, look how beautiful it is. And Messiah's like, man, let me tell you something. Let me tell you what's going to happen to this temple. And then continuing in verse 9. Then shall they deliver you up to be afflicted, and shall kill you, and ye shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake. Oh, 1 second. I actually forgot a verse for verse 1. We talked about the temple, and they were showing them the beautiful temple. And then I have a verse in Enoch here. Enoch 93. Let's see what I got. I'm not even sure which verse this is. 93. Verse 8 and 9. Oh yeah, so we've been reading on from last chapter to this chapter about, like I told you, new positions of authority and man's traditions getting more intertwined with the Most High's commandments. Before it was just, hey, stay away from these gods. Don't worship these gods. Don't do what these other nations do. Now he's like, beware of the leaven of the Pharisees. There's people saying that this is what my commandments are, and they're not. And this is all in fruition of the prophecy in Enoch 93, 8 and 9. And after that, in the 6th week, all who live in it shall be blinded. So this is during Messiah's time. This is talking about literally like the Pharisees. In the hearts of them, all of them shall godlessly forsake wisdom. And in it, a man shall ascend. This is Messiah. And at his close, the house of dominion shall be burnt with fire. Hence is what we just read here. You see, see ye not all these things? Verily I say unto you, there shall not be left here one stone upon another that shall not be thrown down. So we see this is prophecy repeating itself. It was said, the house of dominion shall be burnt with fire. And we know it did. And the whole race of the chosen root shall be dispersed, which we know that did happen. And so this is the time that he's forewarning us that we're in right now. And after that, in the 7th week, shall an apostate generation arise. I went over this word before. Apostate is similar. It sounds similar to apostle, but it's not the same at all. So apostate is someone that is in something that pretty much leaves the truth. So those that leave the truth or are removed from the truth is apostate, pretty much. Generation arise, and many shall be its deeds, and all its deeds shall be pretty much lawlessness, is what's being said in a nutshell there. So that is what is being spoken about. The same exact prophecy that was in Enoch in the beginning of Matthew 24. Yes, exactly. These are like, you got to understand, the Pharisees at this time is called that they are the children of Satan, but these are actual Israelites, Jews. And these are the branches that are being broken off the tree of life, which is Mashiach. Absolutely. All right. All right, now in verse 9, I just read it, talking about they shall deliver you and up to be afflicted and shall kill you. Well, we know that that is what happened to all the apostles except John. John was, this is the so-called history. This is not proven because all of this happened after the books was written. But majority, except John, was all martyred, just as Messiah was speaking to them about, killed for his name's sake. And then continuing with that precept, let's go to Luke 21. But before all these, they shall lay their hands on you and prosecute you, deliver you up to the synagogues and into prisons, being brought before kings and rulers for my name's sake. And it shall turn to you for a testimony. Settle it therefore in your hearts, not to meditate before what ye shall answer. This is the main difference that wasn't in the book of Matthew. That is the same, obviously, the same story in the book of Luke, but it has not been stated there. So verse 14 to 16. Settle it therefore in your hearts, not to meditate before what ye shall answer. For I will give you a mouth and wisdom, which all your adversaries shall not be able to gainsay nor resist. And ye shall be betrayed both by parents and brethren and kinfolks and friends. And some of you shall they cause to be put to death. Maybe not this last part just yet. Don't know what the future holds for some of us, but we all can say that well, I can't speak for everyone, but your loved ones, parents, brother, and kinfolks, friends will turn on you the more you follow Messiah. We know this. And now, verse 11 and 12, and many false prophets shall rise and shall deceive many. And because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. Let's first just make it clear cut. Look at the definition for iniquity. The condition of without law, violation of law, wickedness. So we see that connection there. It says the hearts of many will wax cold because they are lawlessness. So we see that you truly can't love thy neighbor if you are not practicing Torah. That's the whole moral of the story here. Because lawlessness shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. If you are lawless, your love is vanity. It's only for this world. So enjoy it, because it's not real love that comes with keeping Torah and loving thy neighbor as thyself. Continuing with that precept, 2 Thessalonians 2, 7 through 12. For the mystery of iniquity, lawlessness, does already work. Only he who letteth it until he be taken out of the way, and then shall that wicked be revealed, whom the Adon shall consume with the spirit of his mouth, and shall destroy with the brightness of his coming. Even him whose coming is after the working of Satan, with all power and signs and lying wonders, and with all deceivableness of unrighteousness in them that perish, because they receive not the love of the truth. And we know Torah is truth, that they might be saved. And for this cause Elohim shall send them strong delusion, that they should believe a lie, that they all might be damned who believe not the truth, but had pleasure in unrighteousness. In a nutshell, this is speaking against those, the mystery of lawlessness. For those that truly don't want to keep his law, he'll give you what you want. He'll give you over to what you want. If you don't want to believe in Messiah, he'll let you channel your way into whatever understanding you want to come to deny the Messiah, and etc., etc. Watch what your heart desires. Watch yourself, Yasharallah. And then 2 Peter chapter 3, 15 and 17. An account that the long suffering of our Adon is salvation, even as our beloved brother also, according to the wisdom given unto him, has written unto you, as also in all his epistles, speaking in them of these things, in which are some things hard to be understood, which they that are unlearned and unstable rest, as they do also the other scriptures, unto their own destruction. Ye therefore, beloved, seeing ye know these things before, beware lest ye also, being led away with error of the wicked, fall from your own steadfastness. So this is talking about exactly what Paul's talking about. And it says, watch out. His letters are hard to understand if you're unlearned and unstable. And you will be led away with the error of the wicked. Here's a catch here. The whole building of this is in iniquity, right? Lawlessness. Well, the error of the wicked is lawlessness. Let's look up the word translated for wicked here. As we see, this is the word translated for wicked. One who breaks through the restraint of law. Lawless. Different word, same difference. It's the same thing. Paul's letters can be used for the unlearned and unstable to lead you away in the error of lawlessness, and he will, in terms, send you that strong delusion that you will believe the lie if you want to use Paul as a whatever you want to name him. The reason why you can do whatever you want. I mean, 2 Peter 3 actually makes it beyond clear. And this is what's stated beforehand. That's why it says, seeing ye know these things before. Beware lest ye also be led away with the error of lawlessness. Can't get any more straightforward than that. Yes, just over and over again. All right. Let me make sure. Yeah, okay, we're caught up. Let's continue. Matthew 15 through 31 now.
When ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation, spoken of by Daniel the prophet, stand in the holy place, whoso readeth, let him understand. Then let them which be in Judea flee into the mountains. Let him which is on the housetop not come down to take anything out of his house, neither let him which is in the field return back to take his clothes. And woe unto them.
This is talking about us, y'all. This is talking about us. Y'all better pay attention. 15 through 31 is stacked. Let's keep our eyes and ears open.
Them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days. But pray ye that your flight be not in the winter, neither on the Sabbath day. For then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor ever shall be. And except those days should be shortened, there should no flesh be saved. But for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened. Then if any man shall say unto you, Lo, here is Christ, or there, believe it not. For there shall arise false Christs and false prophets, and shall show great signs and wonders, insomuch that, if it were possible, they shall deceive the very elect. Behold, I have told you before. Wherefore, if they shall say unto you, Behold, he is in the desert, go not forth. Behold, he is in the secret chambers, believe it not. For as the lightning cometh out of the east, and shineth even unto the west, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. For wheresoever the carcass is, there will the eagles be gathered together. Immediately after the tribulation of those days shall the sun be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light, and the stars shall fall from heaven, and the powers of the heavens shall be shaken. And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven. And then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn, and they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. And he shall send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet, and they shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven to the other.
Ooh, man. So much. All right, let's take a pause real quick here. We're going to start off back at the top, verse 15. And when ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet, stand in the holy place. Whosoever readeth, let him understand. Also, there's a the same type of what's it called? Like hint that this is like some type of riddle, parable, saying, whoso readeth, let him understand. It's also in Revelation chapter 13, 18, when it says, those who have wisdom or something like that. I'm sorry, I forget. I'm losing track right here. But let's go to the Hebrew translation of verse 15 here. 24, verse 15. Slightly different in the Hebrew translation here. So when you see the desolating abomination, which is written of in the prophet Daniel, standing in the set apart place, he who reads will understand them when it is so. What? That is such a crazy different translation. Yes, don't we get it now? Well, I'm about to show you my perspective. It says that those you won't understand it unless you're there. What is the abomination that causes desolation? The desolating abomination of the set apart place. He who reads will understand them when it is so, because they couldn't fathom they couldn't fathom the jab in their time. They wouldn't understand what that means. So let's go to it. Well, let's go to the precept real quick. Daniel, just want to give the precept that it was speaking of, Daniel 12:11. And from the time that the daily sacrifice shall be taken away, the abomination that makes it desolate set up, there shall be. And we know that the 1,290 days. We know that prophecies can be fulfilled multiple times and in its own way. And I believe this is mainly for us, as Mashiach said, but I believe also during the time of like the Maccabees, there was abomination at the temple as well. But I think this specifically, especially for the time frame of that, is for us. And so let's go to some pictures here. So let's break down the abomination and desolation. So we have abomination means detestable. Desolation means to violently remove what is valuable or attractive possessions from. So you're taking away what is valuable and making it detestable. So my breakdown meaning of the abomination of desolation is something detestable will remove what's valuable. And we know that this isn't talking about an actual temple. Literally, Messiah just said this is the temple's going to fall, which did fall shortly after his crucifixion, death, resurrection. But he's all throughout the New Testament, he's saying he's come here, and he even said the temple will be built in 3 days. He's been speaking in the New Testament, trying to tell us that I ain't talking about no physical temple anymore. I'm not talking about any of that. So what daily sacrifice is Daniel referring to if we don't sacrifice animals anymore? If you are truly reborn, you house the Ruach Kodesh, which would make you the set apart place. Romans 12:1. I beseech you, brethren, therefore, brethren, by the miracles of the Most High, that ye present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy, acceptable unto Elohim, which is your reasonable service. Absolutely. That's exactly what I'm saying. If you had, I went over this in detail in my study, staff of hidden prophecy of the staff of Asclepius on my YouTube, that this is why it says exactly what it says. I couldn't have said it any better. Standing in the set apart place, desolated abomination in the set apart place. He who reads will understand them when it is so. So those that are supposed to be the walking, breathing temple of the Most High, what could you put inside your body outside of unclean food or whatnot that would make your body an abomination? Let's go back. And so that being said, if you want to know more, that's a whole study in itself. Like I said, hidden prophecy of the staff of Asclepius is a whole nother study that I go over this idea of the abomination that causes desolation, because it's for sure not the mark of the beast. The so-called jab is the abomination that causes desolation in the set apart place. It is not the jab. I mean, it is not the mark of the beast. But that's once again a whole nother study. But that's all I'm going to point out right there. And that being said, this idea of the rebuilding of the third temple and the fake state of Israel over there, this is not Bible prophecy. Like, man, this goes to show that people do not read the Bible at all. Like, at all. The idea of why would the Most High care about what this random building in this random place with these random fake synagogue of Satan Jews is burning on a grill? Because that's all sacrifices really are, y'all. It's just ritual burnings. The Hasatan sacrifice animals. There's rituals every day of witches and whatnot. the Most High does not care about this. This has nothing to do with his people and Bible prophecy. Because as we stated, the Most High dwelleth not in temples made with hands. And there is no priesthood anymore for them to even do an actual sacrifice that could even remotely line up with the word. So, once again, read your Bible and study. Don't just say, oh, the Jews are over there. The third temple's almost building. What chapter and verse? Chapter and verse. Where in the world does it talk about a third temple being built? In a red heifer at the third temple? Nowhere. Nowhere. I mean, not a one verse says any of that. Just let people just get, like I said, they're that's their strong delusion. The strong delusion that they will believe a lie because they had no love for the truth. So if you don't want to read the word and abide by it, then the Most High have you just being the most gullible person ever. All right. That's so many false prophecies. And this is why we're leading to, let me see this next point we're about to make here. We go down. In verse 22, well, yeah, let's go verse 22, then obviously 24 in order. And except those days should be shortened, there should no flesh be saved, but the elect's, for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened. Once again, Messiah is quoting prophecy. Verse 22 is quoting prophecy that's in the book of Enoch and in 2nd Baruch. Let's go to it. Enoch, what is it? Enoch 80. Verse 2. And in the days of the sinners, the years shall be shortened, and their seed shall be tardy on their lands and fields, and all things on the earth shall alter, and shall not appear in their time, and the rain shall be kept back, and the heavens shall withhold it. So the days of the sinners shall be shortened, as Messiah says. And then also in the book of 2nd Baruch, chapter 20, verse 1. Therefore, behold, the days come, and the time shall hasten more than the former, and the season shall speed on more than those that are past, and the years shall pass more quickly than the present years. Do y'all feel that? I feel it. Absolutely. These years are flying by. So I think it's both, to be honest, because these are two different things. Time moving faster and days being shortened. That the days will be shortened and time will hasten. And yes, people that are not even in the truth, just regular normies in the world, will be like, man, this year flew by. Oh yes, this is prophecy being fulfilled. And we in that season. All right, that was precepts for verse 22. And now, verse 24. For there shall arise false Christs and false prophets, and shall show great signs and wonders. This is a big verse for the Mark of the Beast study I'm working on. Great signs and wonders are not worldly things. These are talking about doctrine, understanding. Great signs is also what is referred to with the luminaries. Read Genesis 1:14. They should be a sign unto you. Insomuch that if it were possible, they shall deceive the very elect. Let's look at that verse in the Hebrew translation now. Verse 24. I want to make it clear because I've heard some people talking about like, oh, it's possible to deceive the elect or something. I'm like, what? It does not say that. Many liars will stand up and will do an abundance of things and wonders until the chosen ones of Haya will almost go into error if it were possible. I mean, could it be any more clear? The elect chosen ones stay on the righteous path. They almost could go into error, but they don't. Just want to make that clear. I've heard that a couple of times when people were talking about, well, even the elect could be deceived. No, the elect aren't deceived. No, the saints could be deceived, but his elect, his chosen ones, are absolutely not. This is why you have to keep refining, keep studying, because when the time comes, you're either going to be deceived or you're not. You're either going to be right with his truth or you're not. One or the other. All right, in verse 31. Oh, did we stop? Yeah, that was the last verse we read. And after the days of those tribulations shall the sun be darkened and the moon shall not give her light. I'm just going to read 29 through 31 again. And the stars shall fall from heaven, and the powers of the heaven shall be shaken, and then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven, and then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn, and they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. And he shall send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet, and they shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven to the other. Let's go into some precepts. This sounds like Revelation 8:6, and the seven angels which had the seven trumpets prepared themselves to sound. I mean, directly connected. And he shall send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet. This is the trumpets, right? Right here in the book of Revelation. And then this is the sun shall be turned into darkness and the moon into blood before the great and terrible day of Haya come. And then also, what is that the day that the sun shall be darkened? I'm telling you, this is a eclipse. He is speaking of his signs. Remember, we just talked about signs and wonders are also a description of what happens in the heavens. The sun being darkened is an eclipse. And then we're going to go to the book of the Septuagint for it, the book of Jeremiah now. Oh, snap. Did I forget to open that? I think I did. Let's do that real quick. Septuagint for the book of Jeremiah, chapter 38, verse 7 through 9. And we're talking about the time we're in, right? For thus says the Adon to Jacob, rejoice ye and exalt over the head of all the nations. Make proclamation and praise ye. Say, the Adon has delivered his people, the remnant of Yasharallah. Behold, I bring them from the north and will gather them from the end of the earth. Let's pause right there. What did he say? We're focusing on verses 29 through 31. And it says that they shall be gathered together, his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven to another. So the time where the angels will be sent with the trumpet will be during to the feast of Passover. So when is that going to happen? We just said, we just line up scripture. The angels will come with the trumpets and they will gather the elect. And at that time, according to Jeremiah in the Septuagint, it will be at the feast of Passover. And the people shall beget a great multitude, and they shall return hither. They went forth with weeping. Oh, I think it stops right there. I'll finish it. And I will bring them back with consolation, causing them to lodge by the channels of waters in a straight way, and they shall not err in it. For I am become a father to Yasharallah, and Ephraim is my firstborn. All right. So many of you have heard these, right? And so let's talk about next Passover. I'm not trying to hype it up, and I'm not trying to, say something is going to happen. All I'm doing is just taking the Bible and reading the signs. Not trying to be right, not trying to be wrong. All I'm doing is just showing you. So I have some stuff on the next Passover because it kind of lines up with what we're reading. So just like everything, I'm going to line it up and we're going to talk about it if the shoe fits. So let's recap real quick. I said 29 through 31. Oh, let me go to 29. I wanted to read 29 in the right here. And immediately, very soon after that time, the sun will be darkened and the moon will not shine. That is a solar eclipse. When is the sun dark and the moon has no light? It's when the moon is completely dark on the dark phase and it's covering the sun. This is a description of a solar eclipse. The sun is darkened. It doesn't say the sun has no light. It says the sun is darkened and the moon will not shine. So the moon will have no light and the sun will be darkened. And during this time, the stars of heaven will fall. Will fall. A solar eclipse. This is on the day of Passover. And let me put something in perspective. A lot of people think that this, like the eclipse, would be more meaningful on the day of Passover. That's not a Moedim. I speak on that there was a Passover, that was a preparation day eclipse on our Messiah's crucifixion. But that was because it was a sign of our Messiah's crucifixion. If he's going to fulfill, let me tell you something. What happened on the first day of unleavened bread? Did Messiah do anything technically as a fulfillment on the first day of unleavened bread when he was here? He didn't. Messiah fulfilled the Passover meal. He fulfilled the lamb of the Passover meal. Upon his return, he is fulfilling the day of Passover, which is the first day of unleavened bread, which houses the solar eclipse next year. And we see, like I said, the evening before is Passover, but the day of Pesach, we got to understand, Passover is a meal. The day of Passover is the first day of unleavened bread because the meal isn't during the day and it's a meal, it's not a day. The sanctification of the Shabbat is on the first day of unleavened bread, which is April 8th next year. And we see that it's on the Pisces, the fishes. If you want to know more, you go check out the second Exodus in my YouTube. Not going to go into a crazy study into it, but we're in this chapter, so we're going to go over it. All right. So that being said, I wanted to point out that the sun has been darkened. This is on Stellarium, and if you go to look at it, it says this is 1330. That's 1:30 in the afternoon. And then if I go 15 minutes later after the eclipse is over, this app simulates the fact that it was darkened during the eclipse, and once the sun moves past the moon, the light comes out. This is exactly what is rereading. That the sun will be darkened and the moon shall not give her light. This is exactly what we are looking at. The sun is darkened, the moon has no light. All right. So that being said, there was another little find that I just reviewing some of this when I was doing the gospel portion this week. And I was talking about the timing of it. And I looked, and if you know about the annular ring of fire eclipse that went over my area, the crossing of Texas, and it said, I said, look at the longest duration of this eclipse. This is where the crossing will be of the April 8th eclipse. But then I found another gem point perspective of it is that the timing of the April 8th eclipse is between 1:30 to 1:35 of the crossing. Guys, this is exactly roughly solar noon at roughly 1:35. And as we see, the sky is dark April 8th at 1:35, right in the midst of the crossing here in this location. And we see that it's lined up right with the south. Hits midday from rising east, midday to west. So, I mean, all I can say, oh, and then the comparison that the Most High gives us signs and look at what has been, what will be again. Matthew 27, I mentioned Messiah. There was an eclipse during Messiah's crucifixion. And when did that eclipse begin? From the 6th hour. If you know about biblical timekeeping, what's the 6th hour? Solar noon. It's the same exact time frame. I can't even make this up. It just sounds crazy. The same exact time frame of the crossing, that is the Tav, the marking, is at the 6th hour, midday, where the sun is highest in the air, splitting the atmosphere in half right over the X. I mean, the hype could be any more. It just keeps building up. It just keeps building. It's just showing you that something's happening on this day. And if nothing's happening, then I don't know what I'm reading then, because good googly moo. All right. All right. That being said, let's continue. Verse 32.
Now learn a parable of the fig tree. When his branch is yet tender, and putteth forth leaves, ye know that summer is nigh. So likewise ye, when ye shall see all these things, know that it is near, even at the doors. Verily I say unto you, this generation shall not pass, till all these things be fulfilled.
Quick pause right there now. Talks about the parable of the fig tree. I have a little TikTok video to summarize it in a nutshell. Let's go over the parable of the fig tree, how that lines up with our time frame as well.
Let's talk about the parable of the fig tree. Matthew 24 and 32. Now learn a parable of the fig tree. When his branch is yet tender and puts forth leaves, ye know that the summer is near. So when ye shall see all these things, know that it is near, even at the doors. Verily I say unto you, this generation shall not pass till all these things be fulfilled. This verse is referring to a nation being born in the last days. And we are built similar to trees, just as we are compared to trees within the scriptures. So let's break this down. When the branch is yet tender, who are the branches? They are the Nazarene, the barley, the righteous, the elect, and that they start putting forth leaves. And ye know that the summer is near for what to happen? So we can bring forth fruit in season. And here's the confirmation why the Nazarene are the branches that bring forth fruit. The verse right before this one tells you, but his delight is in the law, which he meditate day and night. The Nazarene are those that have faith in the Messiah and keeps the Father's Torah, which is the law. Because our Messiah is the vine and we are the branches. He that abideth in me, and I in him, the same brings forth much fruit, for without me ye can do nothing. Many believe the state of Israel was the fulfillment of this parable of the fig tree. But if you have fully awakened, you know that the state of Israel are the Jews that say they are Jews, but are not. So the synagogue of Satan can never be the branches of the fig tree, because they will never bear any fruit. So what is the fulfillment of the fig tree parable? This brings us to Revelation 12. And there appeared a great woman in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun and the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars. And she, being with child, cried, travailing in birth, and pained to be delivered. She's giving birth to a nation. Now let's connect the dots. The birth of a nation of the Revelation 12 sign happened September 2017. And think about it. There has been a mass awakening, including myself, since this happened, because the time has come that he is pouring out his spirit upon all flesh. And books that were sealed are being uncovered, and knowledge has increased. Now let's cover this last verse. Verily I say unto you, this generation shall not pass till all these things be fulfilled. Most think it's 70 to 80 years based off of this verse in Psalms. But the word generation has many different definitions throughout the Bible. Pause to read. So it could be any day in our lifetime.
And it talks about the generations. And that's the thing. People choose whatever verse lines up with whatever truth they want to be real. But generation is very interchangeable from Genesis 2:14, Exodus 1:6, Numbers 32:13, Isaiah 51:9. Generation can be used for the 40 years in the wilderness, that was a generation. It could be used for even longer than that, the entire generation before the flood, for example, and so on. So, you know, when it says that generation, it's talking about the generation that will be alive during that sign in the awakening, which has been confirmed that we are in right now. And I also, from one of my presentations, the second Exodus, I had a visual of this talking about bringing forth fruit in season. We have the Revelation 12 sign in September of 17. And if you go 3 years, according to scripture, 3 years shall it be as uncircumcised unto you. This is Leviticus 19:23. It shall not be eaten of, but in the 4th year, all the fruit thereof shall be holy to praise the Most High. And then we have the end of year 3, September 2020, which was a ginormous year of his flock being awakened. Like I have Joel 2:28 of his Ruach being poured out on his people. And then Luke 13:7, we read this in the gospel portions, that then said he unto them, dresser of his vineyard, behold, these 3 years I come seeking fruit on this fig tree and find none. Cut it down. Why cometh, I can't even read this word, so small, it to the ground. But in 3 years, his people were going to be awakened, and they needed to start bringing forth fruit in season, which, man, it seems like everything has been lining up. Woo! All right. All right. Verse 35 through 41 now. And we see 35 and 36, like the paragraph, there's a separation, but these are connected. It says but, right? But. So but is connected to the previous sentence. So that is, don't let the separation get you here.
Heaven and earth shall pass away, but my word shall not pass away. But of that day and hour knoweth no man, no, not the angels of heaven, but my Father only. But as the days of Noah were, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. For as in the days that were before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying, and giving in marriage, until the day that Noah entered into the ark, and knew not until the flood came, and took them all away. So shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. Then shall 2 be in the field, the one shall be taken, the other left. 2 women shall be grinding at the mill, the one shall be taken, and the other left.
I truly believe that it says, but of that day or hour knoweth no man. Yeah, maybe not of the hour, but it says and but is to this following, the previous sentence, which is talking about heaven and earth passing away. That is the final judgment throne after the millennium kingdom, not the second coming of Messiah. And I say that because I truly believe, yeah, maybe not know the second or hour of his return, but I truly believe his people will know, because we are as in the days of Noah. And did Noah know the second or the hour that it would rain? Maybe not. But did Noah know the day? Absolutely. Did Noah know to be on the ark before it rained? Absolutely. Was Noah on the ark before he closed the door? Absolutely. His people will have some understanding on his return. And just like it says, for the rest of the world during Noah's time did not know, but Noah and his family knew. And then it says, and knew not until the flood came and took them all away. So who knew not? And this is what I'm saying. It's not talking about Noah. Every time the word keeps saying, and they knew not, or they didn't know, or watch out, he's talking to folks that are not in the word, because there ain't no warning for Noah. Noah is building the ark himself. And it says, and knew not. Who didn't know? Not Noah. Until the flood came and took them away, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. Then shall two be in the field, and the one shall be taken, and the other left. And so we know that being taken during the flood is a bad thing. And we can get that confirmation in 2nd Esdras here. 2nd Esdras chapter 6, verse 24 and 25. And at that time, friends shall make war on friends like enemies in the earth, and those who inhabit it shall be terrified, and the springs of the fountains shall stand still, so that for 3 hours they shall not flow. And it shall be that whoever remaineth after all that I have foretold to you shall himself be saved, and shall see my salvation, the end of the world. So those that remain are the ones that are saved. Not the opposite of what, once again, one of the many horrible prophecies, of false prophecies that people go around speaking, talking about being taken. No, you want to remain. When it says, then shall two be in the field, the one shall be taken. This is bad. You don't want to be taken. That means death. And the other left. You want to be the one that's left, the one that remains on earth, not goes into judgment and not a part of the resurrection. Two women shall be grinding at the mill. The one shall be taken, removed, and the other left, like Noah and his sons. Oh, yeah, absolutely. That's one of those horrible rapture doctrines right there. All righty, then. Oh, yeah, following that 2nd Esdras about remaining, got a couple of last precepts here. Luke 17, in that day, he which shall be upon the housetop and his stuff in the house, let him not come down to take it away. And he that is in the field, let him likewise not return back. Listen, Yasharala, those that have ears, let them hear. This is speaking to you. Listen to this. When the time comes, don't do any of this. Remember Lot's wife. Whosoever shall seek to save his life shall lose it, and whosoever shall lose his life shall preserve it. I went over this in the Torah portions, but if you don't understand the connection of remembering Lot's wife to preserve his life or other life, let me go over it for you. Lot. Oh, let me go into, I wanted to go into, where is it at? Genesis 19:26. So his wife, this is Lot, and his wife looked after, so she looked back after the angel to know what would be the end of her father's house. For she was of the daughters of the Sinamites, and because she sinned by salt, she was manifestly punished. Behold, she was made a statue of salt. So her sin was directly connected to her punishment. What does salt have to do with her sin? Salt is a preservative. Using salt as a food preservative, mostly meat, I should say, a meat preservative. Salt has been used as a food safety aid since ancient times, while salt helps preserve food by reducing water content and etc., etc. Salt is a meat preservative. She was punished by turning into salt because she was looking back, trying to preserve her house, her loved ones. And it's important to put this in perspective because this is talking about he which shall be upon the housetop and his stuff in the house, let him not come down to take it away. That's easy. Oh, I don't care about nothing. I don't care about my wallet. The angel of the Most High is here. But what about if it was your child, your mother, your father, your sister, your brother? What if you went, what about so-and-so? And you look back, and then you look back at the angel and the angel is gone. You might get left. So I want to put it in context, not just with verse 31, that's just talking about belongings. Verse 32 about Lot's wife is about turning back to preserve life that has not made the cutoff. If the Most High didn't come to get somebody that you love, that's not up to you to turn around and to plead for them. Because that's what Lot's wife did. Lot's wife didn't look back because she left her purse. She looked back because she was trying to preserve her family. Now, verse 33. So whosoever shall seek to save his life shall lose it. If you are going to try to save someone's life like you're a savior, you will lose it. And whosoever shall lose his life shall preserve it. Put that in perspective and understand, if you are the elected, you will be gathered by the angels. That is going to be a hardship on a handful. And that's the thing. This proves that we are still being tested even when the angel comes and grabs us to leave. That we're still being tested. Are you going to still look back? Are you going to try to persuade the angel to bring someone that he ain't come to get? Stay looking forward, because there are going to be people. There's a reason. You think this warning is in vain? There's a reason why he's telling us to remember Lot's wife. Because if you don't, it may be you that is left when he came to get you. If you're going to put a verse like that, Deja or Troy, you're going to have to put the verse in the comments. Yeah, help me out. But that's the full understanding there. And I think that's very important to understand, because this idea of possessions, that's easy. Loved ones is what's going to make you really look back. And it may cost you, at least right then and there, your life. Because if he leaves you, you're going to have to die for his name's sake. All right. In conclusion, let's finish it off. Oh, I think I have one more precept. Let me see. One more precept here. Jasher. Oh yeah. Here's another find that I have not. If you've seen the second Exodus, this is another find that I haven't put out yet that I just haven't. I found after the second Exodus, chapter 6 of Jasher, verse 11. Whereas in the days of Noah, this is why it's right here, because verse 35 through 41, it speaks on as in the days of Noah were. Well, also check out what happened in the days of Noah right during the flood, when the flood came. Let's look at this. On that day, the Adon caused the whole earth to shake, and the sun darkened. What? There was a solar eclipse on the day the flood began. Or I think, well, very soon. Let me read. And the foundations of the world raged, and the whole earth was moved violently, and the lightning flashed, the thunder roared, and all the foundations in the earth were broken up, such as was not known to the inhabitants before. And Elohim did this mighty act in order to terrify the sons of men, that there might be no more evil upon the earth. So yes, we see that this is right when the flood is beginning. And there is also a solar eclipse as in the days of Noah. Wow. Ooh, all right. 42 through 51 to close off this gospel portion.
Watch therefore, for ye know not what hour your Lord doth come. But know that.
You see that? We know not the hour. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The hour, absolutely. But the day, we know he's coming on a Moedim. So why would anybody not expect him not to come on a Moedim, right?
That if the good man of the house had known in what watch the thief would come, he would have watched, and would not have suffered his house to be broken up. Therefore be ye also ready. For in such an hour as ye think not, the Son of Man cometh. Who then is a faithful and wise servant, whom his Lord hath made ruler over his household to give them meat in due season? Blessed is that servant, whom his Lord, when he cometh, shall find so doing. Verily I say unto you, that he shall make him ruler over all his goods. But, and if that evil servant shall say in his heart, My Lord delayeth his coming, and shall begin to smite his fellow servants, and to eat and drink with the drunken, the Lord of that servant shall come in a day when he looketh not for him, and in an hour that he is not aware of, and shall cut him asunder, and appoint him his portion with the hypocrites. There shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth.
Woo! That is that's hell, obviously, weeping and gnashing of teeth. And that concludes our gospel portion. Shabbat Shalom. Thank y'all for joining me once again. And I'll see you next week for chapters 25 and 26 of Matthew.